Welcome to the Big Fat Gay Podcast, where we like to talk about the things weighing on our minds. My name's Don Marshall. I'm a big chubby guy living here in sunny Hollywood, and I am your Nat 20 of talk show hosts today. Because we're just that good. And poor Dan is staring at me with a blank look.
No, I used the Rolodex of my mind to quickly figure out what the hell is that. My name is Dan Oliverio. I'm an author, public speaker, and card-carrying chubby chaser. And I'd just like to remind everyone out there that, yes, your Christmas tree can be used in January as a lamp.
Okay.
Does that involve just lighting it on fire?
No. It just means we haven't taken it down yet. I'm staring right at it.
It casts light around the room,
yes,
illuminating everybody and twinkles.
It's so festive and Yuletide.
I'm Trevor Keyson. I'm a super chub living here in West Hollywood. I'm 30 feet above Dan right now, and there's a whole lot going on in our introductions. So I'll say I don't know. Right now I'm a Nat 1 in my little tummy. But I'm playing through that little unfortunate role.
So if you hear a round of people doing impressions from Blazing Saddles, that's just Trevor. Right there. A famous bean scene reenacted just for you.
And my name is Michael. I am a chaser. And I think I'm also kind of a Nat 1 this year. I'm the crit fail. How about that? I'm the crit fail. You swung and you miss and you hit yourself in the head. It's been I have to say, I don't know that I expected 2021 to start off all that great, but it has been a shit start to the year. It really has.
Michael,
well, it's just a 2020 is refusing to abdicate in favor of 2021. It's refusing to leave.
Yeah,
I believe it's filed a couple
247.
We have 9 more months of 2020.
Yeah, I think it might be 2021, somewhere around July or August. Yeah.
Right. Well, welcome to the show, everybody.
Welcome to the Big Fat Gay Podcast.
Yeah.
Why, thank you, John.
January 3rd.
Well, let's dive on in, shall we?
Let's do dive.
Some pop culture, which I'm excited. I don't know. I'm excited about this one because it was a really interesting article.
Oh, about Nancy Redmond?
Yeah. So the New York Times had an article about Nancy Redmond, who was a pioneer of plus size fashion, who unfortunately passed away at the end of 2020. But she opened a series of upscale plus-size clothing boutiques called The Forgotten Woman, starting in 1977, and they kind of opened across the country before ultimately closing in, it was like 95.
It had a good run.
And I think the coolest part for me was that she was reaching out to designers to convince them to start designing clothes for plus size women, and was able to get them to make custom clothing that she could then sell in her store. And she went from the one store in New York to like 40 across the country?
I think it was specifically 33, which just
33
stuck out in my head because it's a cool number. 33. It's 2 3s. I think my favorite part of the article, which I just thought was kind of fun and I could kind of just visualize, was the boutiques had a sugar daddy bar for the female shoppers, male companions, that had Corbel champagne, tea sandwiches, and miniature muffins.
For the men who needed to be entertained while their wives shopped? Is that why?
Yes.
Yeah.
I see.
Yeah.
That's clever.
To make it a pleasant experience for everybody.
Mm-hmm.
Lovely.
It makes sense. I mean, you would need that product everywhere if there was no other outlet for it.
Mm-hmm.
To this day, I'm still sort of surprised that online shopping has replaced the big and tall store. There's so few big and tall stores around that, and catalog is nice, but maybe 2/3 of the clothes fit properly.
Well, and something that we discovered is that when you go into a big and tall store, like if you go into the DXL Rochester in Beverly Hills, you're going to find loads of stuff that is beautiful, but not in the catalog. Because it's something that I don't know how the local store acquired it, but it's some really high-end stuff for their market in Beverly Hills that you would never see. It's not part of the black, brown, navy uniform that you see over and over and over again in a lot of the big boy catalogs.
When I moved to LA, there was one big and tall store in West Hollywood. right on Fairfax.
Oh, I remember that.
It was a mom and pop shop,
It
like
was.
two old Italian guys that would like hobble up to you when you came in, like, "What do you want?
What do you want? What size do you need?
Yeah, we got something that'll fit your ass." And, but they had great stuff that like I've never seen before or since, and it kills me that they went away.
So we talked, we guessed a few episodes ago about what the movies Godmothered and the Prom might be like before they had come out, and we've now had a chance to watch those movies and kind of give our reactions. So I actually never got to Godmother. I did watch the Prom, but Trevor and Dan, you guys got to watch that, didn't you?
Yeah, Trevor,
Yes.
do you want to start?
So I don't know. I went in with very low expectations for Godmothered because, I mean, the trailers, it was like, okay, this probably isn't going to be great. It's also technically a Christmas movie. It's a Disney Plus original movie. So that kind of like all these things kind of, I'm like, okay, lower your expectations.
Don't get too excited.
I ended up really enjoying it. I mean, Jillian Bell is the best part of the movie.
Playing the Godmother.
It also has Jane Curtin, who is, amazing.
I guess what I would say is that I can't tell if it was a production problem or just who let you make this, because the writing and plotting is terrible. But absolutely, is it Kristen Bell? What's her name?
Jillian Bell.
Jillian Bell.
Jillian
Jillian
Bell.
Bell is absolutely wonderful and a delight to watch.
As far as, so Dan was saying production issues. So we looked up at the end, because I don't really think this counts as a spoiler. The ending sequence is animated, which felt a little weird because it's like, oh, okay, like, I guess like it was cute. It was a cute style, but I'm like, oh, this is just an interesting thing. And as I was watching it, I'm like, I wonder if they had to animate the ending because of COVID production issues, which that is the exact case. They ran into, but they had issues with filming because of COVID. And I think that is why there are some moments in the movie that just don't add up. Like it feels like they're like you missed something, but I think it's because they missed filming a scene and they're like, we can make it work without this brief exchange.
There are a couple storylines in there that I felt sort of petered out, or were missing beats.
Yeah.
Again, I was assuming the same thing. I watched a friend of mine suggested I watch this mini golf reality show called Holy Moly, where they apparently finished filming all of the golf stuff before COVID, but then had none of the background stuff. So all of a sudden, for no apparent reason, it just kind of lapses into animation every once in a while when they're interviewing people or they're talking to folks. So they could pretend that they're in the same room as opposed to doing it over the phone or something. It was weird. It was weird. Yeah, so I agree. I felt sort of fine with the movie. It had no connection to body issues at all.
No. Which was actually kind of nice. I like that it was, she was just fat. There were no fat jokes. Mm-hmm. It was just.
Well, and she's in a bodice, which is really defining her shape. And it's not about that. Like it really is. She's Hollywood fat to begin with. So, and then she's in a bodice. So it's everything is contoured and there's an artificial shape to it. But I mean, like I said, she's worth watching anytime.
Yeah. I mean, it's impossible not to point out that she is completely sexless in the movie.
Yeah.
Nobody ever looks at her as a sexual being or entity in any way, even though she's in a couple different situations where people might, and she's quite lovely. But you have to remember, it's a Disney family friendly movie about a fairy godmother. So that's not really in the cards anyway.
Disney,
I feel
Disney
like
does
that's
not let the
more-
fairy godmother get it on. Yeah.
Yeah, she's not gonna
I feel
get
like that's
laid.
more part of the character than anything else. Although it does beg the question that if they had like made her the sexy fairy godmother like they did in the Cinderella live action remake, would that have still been the case in this story?
Yeah, like guys would have been admiring her at least. I feel if she.
I
was-
wonder.
Yeah.
I wonder, if they would have done that. So we also took a look at the Prom, which is kind of a different beast.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of baggage that came along with that movie.
I'm curious because my thing was I couldn't see anything in the previews for which I mean, the scuttlebutt is that James Corden is getting absolutely and has gotten slaughtered in the press for, I don't know, existing, and especially in this movie. And I couldn't. I mean, it's not a stellar performance, but it's totally in keeping with the rest of the performances. There's nothing missing there, in my opinion. I don't know, Don. I think you had a stronger opinion about this than I did. Maybe
I wasn't able to get through it. I
okay.
Just,
that says something.
But I am not going to say that it's about the movie. I just wasn't clicking.
Okay.
I actually didn't even watch enough for me to say that I could make any sort of educated statement about it.
And it's just about the concept. It's about the show, not the acting, not the production values.
Yeah, and it's also the fact that this is based on a Broadway show that was made great by its cast, and they just flushed the cast for the movie version.
Absolutely.
And I don't approve of that. Like,
I agree. But it happens all the time. It happens all the time.
Movie musicals have suffered enormously because they keep casting non-singers for their star power. Like I still haven't gotten over Sweeney Todd, right? It's one of the most complicated, elegant musicals of all time, and they cast a bunch of non-singers. Sacha Baron Cohen was the best singer in the damn movie.
That says
and
something.
That's weird. Like, that's weird.
No, I loathed. I mean, I'm not a big Tim Burton fan in the first place, and I loathed the film version of Sweeney Todd. Loathed it with every fiber. But I honestly, I can't think of a movie musical where the film version is better. I just can't. Even Into the Woods, I just can't.
Yeah, I went into this kind of, I wouldn't say neutral per se, but I don't have it. I've never seen the show. I didn't really have any opinions. I just kind of sat down to watch it. And I think the clearest thing I can say about it is that it is a Ryan Murphy movie.
Yes.
It is the most Ryan Murphy that Ryan Murphy has ever been. And so if you liked Glee, if you like basically anything musical that Ryan Murphy's ever produced, you will enjoy this movie, I think, because it has that sound. Like, if you listen to anything produced that came out of Glee, musically speaking, this sounds like that. Exactly. They have some kind of modulation, some mixing technique, a way of compressing the voices so intensely that you hear Glee. It's like it's from the same world.
I was saying that to Dan, and that was part of why it was so. I mean, I don't blame. After watching this, I don't see like none of this is on James Corden. This is all right. It's all Ryan Murphy's fault.
Yeah, it's exactly 100% a Ryan Murphy film.
And the fact that he when he saw Prom the musical on Broadway, he left basically like, okay, I want to make this into a movie with Meryl Streep, Nicole Kidman, and James Corden.
Well, and he says in that interview that he wanted to make it his movie, and he very deliberately didn't want anybody who had anything to do with the original production. In fact, the woman who played the young lesbian on Broadway had to request an audition, and instead of casting her, they went out and found a complete unknown, because that would be more Ryan's movie than somebody who'd done it on Broadway.
Yeah. I understand the motive on his part.
Oh, totally. It's awful. It's awful.
It was the wrong choice.
Approve it.
I can't. Yeah, I think if you want to criticize this movie harshly, blame it on Ryan Murphy. I can't, because you don't, like, if you're James Corden and somebody comes to you and says, "Hey, there's this role," and you love obviously he loves musical theater, and he, I wouldn't say he's got a particularly great voice, but he clearly has made it a part of his brand. And you get this opportunity to play this part. I think we have kind of talked about this, about like, is it fair for a straight actor to take a gay role and like all of that stuff? And we talked about that when we brought this up the first episode around. But I don't know. I didn't really like the movie all that much. It's not the music I didn't particularly bond with. I didn't really relate to any of the characters. And I will still say the one emotional moment that they, in a movie packed with sort of forced emotional beats, the one that I actually resonated with and thought worked was in James Corden's monologue about growing up gay. It was very trite and it was expected, but I thought he did a great job.
I agree.
I mean, it's hard to, I don't think you can really fault him when clearly, like, from his perspective, there's this famous, like, the top A-list Hollywood gay producer director is asking him to play a gay role. That feels, I'm sure, like permission to him. And so
Well,
at
also
that point,
and also Ryan Murphy's gay. I mean, it's not like it's
that's
not,
what I mean. Yeah.
And he's produced some of the best gay content currently available.
yeah.
Period.
So yeah, if you're James Corden,
Pose is life changing. It's a beautiful, beautiful portrayal of gay life from a period.
Yeah.
And he. Let's just make it clear. I feel like you can criticize the product without criticizing the creative behind it. Like, he made a misstep with this one, but he's still he is still definitely an ally of the community who's done some great work.
Oh, sure. But, and I would say in support of Michael's point, not only is James Corden blameless in this, like, as you know, the gay mega director tells you should play this gay role and you're straight, you're not going to argue with him. But I would even go farther and say that it's not the actor's job to turn that down. I mean, maybe if you're Brad Pitt, you're not going to play in Boys in the Band. You know, maybe that's a bad idea. But if you're Brad Pitt, you know that you have a brand, you have your own concerns. But if you're in a class of, where you're still acting for money, let's say, which certain megastars are no longer doing, like Keanu Reeves or Brad Pitt, like they don't act for money. I mean, they get paid, but you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Right.
They just do what they want to do.
They do what they want to do. So, but unless you're in that class, it is the director and the producer who are responsible for these choices.
Yeah.
I don't know entirely if I agree with that, in that the yellow face discussion in Hollywood, where white actors are accepting all of these Asian roles and then getting Asianed by the makeup department or by the writer. That I do think that's on the director and producer, but I also think it's on the actor for accepting. Like, Scarlett Johansson needs to stop accepting Asian parts.
Well, but she's in that. But she's in that category of where she gets to pick her own material after so many Marvel successes.
Right, and she accepted.
Yeah, and
the roles where she played Asian people.
So I'm not talking about stars of her caliber, of her echelon. I'm talking about where you have like James Corden and the people below that, where they really are acting for pay.
I don't think James Corden is in that category. I think James Corden has had enough lead roles in movies, and he's the host of a major late night TV show. The man is not starving.
No,
but I understand what you're saying. Yes, an up and comer who is worried about where their next meal is coming. No blame.
Well, here's I think the deeper question is it equivalent, or at least moderately equivalent, for somebody playing the wrong race versus somebody playing the wrong sexuality? Are those
equivalent?
Do you match those together?
I don't personally. But that's me. I feel like everybody has the right to come to their own decision on that one.
It's so complicated.
I think it's complicated, and I think also it's I think it depends also really on the context of what this story is and what this character is. Mm-hmm. People were up in arms with the last terrible Fantastic Four movie that they made Johnny Storm black, and it's like, well, historically they're siblings and they're white, and it's just like, and that is a change where it's like, that doesn't, like, it gives a black actor a job, it makes the universe more diverse, it's
fine.
It's fine. Whereas like if you're like, okay, well, we're gonna make Black Panther white, I mean, that's all I need to say with
exactly
that is like that.
Well, I mean, even in Crazy Rich Asians, originally they wanted a white girl for that female lead because, well, the audience needs a way in, and if they're all Asian, how will we know what we are? How will the white people relate?
Yeah, you can see that in like Orange is the New Black, right?
Yes.
Is probably the best vehicle for people of color stories in my generation, probably. But you know what? They had to have the white lead. They would not have gotten their funding without the white lead.
Which at this point is now almost gratuitous from what I understand. I don't follow the show, but from what I understand now, she's sort of a background character.
Well, the show's done. It's over.
Yeah. Sure, but by the last season's, like, the white girl.
She's incidental.
She became like, Piper became basically like, filled the role that some of the black characters that became like the new stars of the show. She's like, she has her wacky like C plot in season 4 or whatever. And it's like she pops in to be like, check on everyone, like almost like it's a spinoff where it's like, don't worry, B. Arthur's gonna pop in to check in on the neighbors.
But in general, I feel like the more sort of put upon the minority group that's being represented is in reality, the more distasteful it is when they cross-cast the actor.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I have to admit, this is really on the forefront of my mind right now, and I'm going to plug it on the show because I want this other show to do well. Tonight, I get to watch the first episode of The Watch, an adaptation of Terry Pratchett's Night Watch series, which I can't even express how excited I am about. But about a third or quarter of the characters have been cross-cast, making them female, which, because the original book lacks female characters, it's a flaw. It's not devoid of them, but they're an extreme minority. But when you're casting and putting on TV, it's nice to have more representations of multiple types of people. So, very much looking forward to it.
Nice.
Just one more thing I want to say about the Prom. So, you know, the reason we initially brought it up is because there was all this outrage at Corden's performance of a gay man, which I don't know. It was, once again, as Dan said, it was in line with the rest of the acting in the movie.
Yeah.
But I will say, so Dolly Parton's Christmas on the Square.
Oh, yeah.
Has two gay characters who work in the hair salon and played by gay men. And I was more offended at that performance of like these swishy gay, like, you know, voguing stylists who faint when Christine Baranski serves them an eviction notice, and how they're just kind of treated almost like, I feel like you could replace them with like dogs in tutus who walk on their hind legs and they would fulfill the same function. It was just I was like, this is bad, but it's like, it's gay actors, but this offends me.
Well, and that's the thing, because nobody bats an eye about that, because the actors are gay and the roles are, you know, functionally gay. But James Corden, but James Corden's getting shit. It makes no sense.
Yeah. So I don't know. Check out those movies and let us know what you think.
Do we want to mention, however briefly, the James Corden?
Oh fuck!
WWE.
I forgot about that. I blocked that into my. So I got. I don't even know. I was reading an article. It was about like some clickbait comic book movie thing, probably on Facebook, and I got an ad in the middle of the article for James Corden promoting Weight Watchers, which I just immediately was like, and screen captured and sent to everyone. And then Michael got James
YouTube
Corden
ad. I was watching some video, and in the middle of the video popped up with James Corden addressing, this year we're going to make the year that we're going to live mindfully and healthily, and you take this journey with me, and we'll do it together. And they didn't exactly frame it around weight loss, but it's fucking Weight Watchers as a WW.
Yeah, WW.
And obviously that's the goal. Like if you're on WW and you gain weight but you're living mindfully, I don't think you've achieved what they consider to be a goal, or like the right goal.
I think the word you're looking for, Michael, is you failed.
Right.
If you're healthier, if your blood work is better, but you've actually gained weight, you've still failed in their eyes.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, that's the lettuce.
Yeah, he is.
Fart,
that's the
internet fart in our face.
Can I just say, because Oprah did this not so long ago, and I wonder if that. I mean, she's Oprah; she's kind of untouchable, but I wonder, did that have an effect on her career? Did she? I mean, it's just so interesting going from Oprah to James Corden.
I mean, yeah, I think she is kind of untouchable, but she's certainly slipped up, though. I wouldn't say she's infallible. I just think that the position she holds in the public eye is kind of like she's the gold standard for a role model, and I don't think people are going to pave over that anytime soon.
And I wonder how many other celebrities Weight Watchers asked who passed on this before they got to James Corden.
I'd be curious to know that.
He could have been their first choice, but probably not.
I feel like he's a better get than most of the people they've had in the past. Oprah, you can't beat Oprah. They had Oprah. Yeah. I mean, that's not going to get any better. But who was the last one they had? It was like Kirstie Alley was the one.
For a while, it was Jennifer Hudson.
Oh,
was it? Oh, I never saw Jennifer Hudson.
Yeah, Jennifer Hudson was, I think it was Weight Watchers. It might have been a different one, but I thought it was Weight Watchers.
Well, and it's kind of a coup that it's a fat man.
Mm-hmm.
Don't you think? Has there ever been a fat man repping Weight Watchers? I don't think so.
I don't think so. I think they have had men in commercials where they've had multiple people attesting and testifying.
Okay, so I'm
never as the center.
I'm going to go out on a limb here, and I'm going to say that as body positivity, for better or for worse, expands into straight male culture, that it's actually a win to see fat men showing up in these commercials, because it actually shows them as part of it includes them in the fat oppression universe. Like it actually, like the same reason that we exist as a podcast is the same reason that James Corden is getting cast in a Weight Watchers commercial. They're linked. It's that it's finally recognized that fatness touches straight men.
You're not putting this on us, Dan.
No, I don't mean that at all.
I know.
You kind of say, I mean, in the thing that, like, Trevor, you're always saying, like, well, it's something, you know, it's 2 steps forward, 2 steps back. You know?
This is the worst it's something yet.
But I guess what I'm saying is, I think it's a coup that Weight Watchers has a straight man repping the brand. We've never seen that. And I don't think it's random.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
I guess I agree with Trevor, though. That's the worst it's something yet.
I'm not sure I disagree. Yeah. But I guess, I don't know. I find that remarkable. I find that interesting.
It is remarkable, but just still. Oh, that's the monkey paw.
Hey, bigger gain, bigger disappointment, right?
All right. Well, we've gone on long enough about.
It's a new year, so it's a new forecast. So it's Fat Watch 2021.
Is it the same music?
Yeah,
that's what I was wondering.
Okay.
Unless you find something, I don't know, more like. I mean, the way I like to think about Fat Watch 2021 is like, there's always kind of like the vague storm watches at the start of hurricane season, and then it becomes something else once they start naming the hurricanes, and you know they're descending upon Florida.
Okay.
So you know, 2021 is still really 2020, which you know, if 2020 was a state, it would be Florida.
That's a terrible thing to say about 2020.
We're gonna kick it off with this article that actually Dawn sent to us about Mary Weismann kind of clapping back to some trolls.
Who is Mary Weismann, Trevor?
She is what is her
I think Don
title?
should set up.
Yeah, Don set up.
He's the expert.
She is Ensign Tilly from Star Trek Discovery. This is interesting because she is, again, I would say she's barely even pushing Hollywood fat. She's just a normal bodied woman, which these jumpsuits they give you on Star Trek can be somewhat unforgiving, but she's the only person of size of any kind I can ever think of seeing on Star Trek.
Yep.
That wasn't the pack-led race, which we've touched on before, of the incredibly stupid, virtually mentally handicapped, alien race of obese men.
Oh, the fat, stupid people.
Yeah. She is not a large woman, but she has been body shamed pretty consistently on Twitter and elsewhere by Star Trek fans.
A fandom is treating somebody terribly?
Well, and I think it's more than just that, because I bet you if it was a man that size, I don't think there'd be nearly this kerfluffle.
Oh, no.
No.
Probably not. But thanks to James Corden, that might be changing soon.
You see the good he's doing?
Dan, I know you're a big fan of hers.
I'm a huge fan of Mary Weismann.
I love
this
her
character
too.
and of Discovery.
Oh, you do, Trevor? Oh,
yes.
Yeah.
Nice.
I hate her.
I was actually looking to see if there are any Ensign Tilly action figures, but there's not. There's some custom ones that people made that are like, yeah, it looks like her.
Squint really hard.
Yeah.
So what did she say to these haters? What happened? What's the rest of the story?
Go, Dan. Go, Dan.
No, you know this so much better than I was just going to talk about Star Trek Discovery and Mary Weismann, but I think you actually know the story.
I mean,
so
I have the quote right here. So
okay, good.
So she said, "I'm a person. I have a history, and bullying is totally part of that.
Bullying.
So it has been hard. It has been hard to avoid because it props up on social media accounts or people comment on my posts and with cruel, unscientific comments. And then she also kind of, so this was in an interview, and then she kind of had a statement for people who've kind of rose to the occasion defending her. And she said, I love you all, and all of you are perfect as designed. All of us deserve to occupy space, whether it's at work or in public or in a starship. I'm proud to be here, and I'm proud to wear my skin-tight costume and proud of my body, and I belong.
Wonderful. That's so wonderful.
Nice.
And so important. She does. I mean, the show is revolutionary in many ways. We could talk about that thematically and the plots and things like that. But just this character, and you can see that by the fan mail, by how people react to her. It's a whole different presence in the Star Trek franchise. Would you agree, Don?
Oh, 100%. You know, this is the first show. Enterprise tried to give us human characters for the first time, but Enterprise was Enterprise.
Yeah.
Star Trek Discovery is actually good. And and it's in no small part because they have actors and actors like her and characters like the one she's playing that are not only deeply flawed, but flawed in ways that are familiar to us, right? Like, I know the insecurity of that character. I know where a lot of her issues come from, and I get it. As opposed to some of the prior characters we've seen where it's like, I'm lonely because I'm so good at what I do. It puts me apart from everyone. Like,
yeah.
No, fuck you.
Well, but Star Trek from the old show to especially the first few seasons of Next Generation specialized in this sort of larger than life nobility. Like they're so noble they can barely breathe. And and it's not that these characters are messier. They're just, as Don says, they're so much more human.
Yeah.
And that is the writing on the show in particular is fantastic because it gets into this nitty gritty. It gets into those human questions and questions of ethnicity and gender and belonging in a way that no show has ever done, especially in the Star Trek universe.
And here's one of the reasons why I think Discovery has had some backlash from the old school Star Trek fans, which is they claim these people are not as noble. They're not as Star Trek-y as the ones we've seen before.
Very true.
I completely disagree. They are every bit as noble. The difference is that in this version of the show, nobility comes at a cost. And we see the cost that they pay when they try and live up to their higher ideals.
Well said. Well said. Because in the past, they were so noble, they were Greek statues.
Yeah. There was never anything. They were just so good and so in the right always that there's no price for standing up for what's right. In this, sometimes the right thing is ugly and the right thing is not easy and it's not going to be good for you to go through with, but they do. And I appreciate that enormously. To me, it gives it far more depth.
I haven't really watched much Star Trek, so I'm nodding and agreeing, and I'm very happy for all of this.
Trevor, what is this last piece that you've got for us in the Fat Watch?
So the last thing I found for Fat Watch, we've talked about Mark Santambrino before, who operates Fat Kid Yoga Club. And he shared this post that I thought was important to share, especially just kind of in these times of like New Year, diet culture, New Year's resolution stuff. And so he posted this on Instagram, and it's he shared it in his story, but then he also shared it in his regular feed and says, "No one owes you health, especially fat people. Let's chill out with a good fatty healthism. If you're unhealthy, you're valid as fuck, and I'll fight for your dignity." And then he says, he goes on to say in the kind of caption, "No one is healthy 100% of the time. 2020 taught us that, if you already didn't know it. Fat people deserve to be treated with dignity and respect regardless of their health status. Sick and chronically ill, disabled folks deserve medicine and empathy regardless of how much they weigh. Let's celebrate all bodies unconditionally in 2021. And I just thought that was really important right now, especially like, you know, here in California, we're seeing just hospitals surging, and they've said, you know, we're basically at the point where we're going to have to start deciding who gets care and who doesn't based on their health, which has been I think we're still not quite there. We're basically right at the brink, and thankfully it looks like numbers are going down a little bit. But this has been the concern, and I've seen a lot of this kind of in the fat acceptance community, in disability advocacy and kind of like people with chronic health issues all talking about this, that, you know, every body matters.
Yeah.
And I think even just within, you know, the world of body positivity, there's a lot of, you know, well, as long as you're healthy,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
that's great. As long as you're healthy.
But they don't mean that. They never mean that. What they mean is, because what's behind that is, well, you know, you may be healthy now by some measures, like, you know, medical tests, but we all know that you're going to pay for it, fatty. We all know you're going to pay for it someday. And they lick their chops. The thing I want to put across, this is a drum I beat all the time, especially in my work, is that it is never, ever about health. This is never about health, because you could have the cleanest blood work in the world and it's still, well, okay, well then you just be careful. Like, it's never about health. It's about blame. It's about, see, because nobody is out there nobody is out there berating people with cancer because, like, oh, they got sick, they got lung cancer and they really should have done better. No one's out there doing that, because they don't blame those people for their cancer. But they blame people for being fat, and they link fat with disease, and therefore they blame ill health on fat people. And being fat is the only condition where you get blamed for getting sick. If you're my size and you get sick, you just got sick. If you're a fat person size and get sick, well, you really should have done better, shouldn't you? And it's about blame. And that's what drives me crazy.
Yeah. But James Corden's going to fix all that.
Yeah.
Yeah, right. Because, you know, he's going to be healthier, and by which he means smaller.
So I thought a good way to end our first Fat Watch would be some inspiring words from our very own Lizzo, to have us, at least in her own way, sort of frame 2020 and take us into 2021 on a good note. She posted on Instagram and probably other places on New Year's Eve the following. Very, very stunning picture of herself standing like in front of the night sky with Los Angeles in the background, and like she's posing in this really stunning outfit. And she wrote, "I saw somewhere, if you ain't find your hustle this year, then the hustle ain't in you." Now, this year wasn't given to us in the form of an incubator for growth. If you found growth, I'm proud of you. If you found yourself shrunken, I'm proud of you, because this year was about survival. And everyone reading this post is a survivor. And that means that the hustle is definitely in you. Celebrate yourself safely and lovingly.
That's beautiful.
Yay.
How lovely. Okay, well, the bit this week, since we are moving into the new year, and one of the subjects we talked about as a potential episode focus was New Year's resolutions, or more importantly, how to make plans healthily for yourself. I thought I would celebrate this by bringing to you 3 examples of plans that did not go so well. This first one is going to be, I'm going to describe a product to you, and then I'm going to give you 3 hints over time, and you'll have to guess what product I'm talking about.
Mm-hmm.
All right?
Do we
buzz in when you think you know what it is.
Okay.
A Japanese company launched a product that they thought would change the world in the mid-1970s, but quickly found themselves against another company's product in the market. Since their product was simply superior, the Japanese company's was simply superior, providing better resolution, sound, and stability, they trusted the public to invest in their system because unquestionably of a higher quality. The plan failed, and their product became one of the most notorious product rollout flops of all time. What was the product? Okay, before the hints are even given, I've got a hand from Dan.
Yes. Digimon. No, I'm kidding. No, I'm Betamax.
Betamax is correct.
From Sony. Fucking arrogant pricks.
Well, I mean,
sorry, I don't like Sony.
Well, the product was actually superior in just about every way. The one flop was that it didn't run as long.
And Sony insists, this is the whole identity of their company, is that they insist on existing in their own ecosystem. And if you want to use a Sony product, you must buy other Sony products, and you cannot make it work with anything else. And so they insisted upon using their stuff within their own ecosystem. And if you didn't have it already, it didn't work for you.
I'm so glad I have Apple, and that never happens.
Shock and surprise. I also don't really like Apple either, but that's just me.
Interesting side note: they kept making Betamax tapes long after Betamax machines were produced.
They had
They
to.
only stopped. Can you guess when they stopped making them?
2000.
2018.
Whoa.
What?
Whoa.
Yes. They very recently stopped producing the tapes.
Holy shit.
I wonder if they like stopped in 2000, but they had so many backlogged in warehouses that they said, "Sure, we'll keep selling them. What the hell?"
I can't remember if we said this, but the alternative was VHS, right? That
Correct.
was the
Yeah.
So VHS was the one that took off. And everybody.
So, but I always
Yeah.
wondered that. Is that the reason the VHS had market dominance? Because you could use it in any machine? I mean, that wasn't.
There are
something-
a couple
Yeah.
different reasons why they thought, it was a format war, and more people went with VHS for a couple different reasons, including for money reasons primarily.
It was cheaper.
But the two big reasons that are attributed to it is one, longer running time for VHS cassettes, and two, greater access to porn on VCRs.
Oh, well, that's important.
Yep.
That's important.
The porn factor should not be ignored.
and longer porn, apparently.
Bigger, longer,
All right.
less cut.
Hold on.
The next two are multiple choice. All right. This plan is actually from the Romance of the Three Kingdoms, a fiction, a Chinese fiction. However, it is based on actual events. In the Romance of the Three Kingdoms, a massive army was marching on the city of Xiqing. Sorry for the pronunciation. Despite being filled with competent, well-equipped soldiers led by a very competent general, the army arrived at the city and promptly retreated without a single drop of blood being spilled. What did they see when they arrived at the city? 1. 3 men on 3 different towers that appeared to be throwing lightning down at the ground. The attackers fled, suspecting dark magic was being used to defend the city. 2. They found the gates wide open. No soldiers or weapons at all, only a smiling old man playing the lute. Suspecting a devastating trap, they fled.
David Carradine, huh?
3. The defenders seemed to be made up entirely of well-armed but completely naked women. The attackers withdrew out of discomfort and confusion. Or 4.
Oh, there's 4.
Dead animals falling from the sky.
Oh, dear.
The defenders had slaughtered livestock about a week before the attackers arrived and used siege engines to drop the riding carcasses on their head and in the river, poisoning the water supply. The attackers fled for fear of plague and probably out of disgust. Trevor, I see a hand from Trevor.
I'm going to say the first one.
3 men on 3 different towers that appear to be throwing lightning down at the ground.
Yes.
I'm going for naked women, and I think the lobbing dead animals that happened in France. That was Carcassonne.
I thought that happened in Monty Python's Holy Grail.
It did, but that's because it's French. It was Carcassonne.
Okay, so we have 1 for lightning. We have 1 for naked women. Michael, what are you going with?
I just to be a contrarian, I'm going to go for the man playing the lute. With his
We have 1 for a lone old man playing the lute. And the correct answer is, in fact, a lone old man playing the lute.
No.
What?
Yes. This has
That's
actually
awesome.
this is actually now one of the, I think it's the 38 Chinese strategies of war. And it's called the empty fort defense,
Oh.
where you present your neck to the enemy, at which point the enemy will assume you've got an ambush set up and leave.
That's
And
genius.
it's actually been used several times through history.
It's reverse psychology.
If only
Yep.
Sony had thought of that with their Betamax.
So an army's well-planned attack gone to pot because they stationed an old man with a lute at the front door. Anyone who's watched
He
Kung
must have
Fu
been
movies, by
ripped.
the way, knows if you find an unarmed, smiling old man, flee. Just flee.
It's like
not
that
gonna
scene
end
from
well
Kung
for you.
Fu Hustle where he's trying to pick people out of the crowd that look weak and piddling, and then
Yeah.
like the old man stands up and he's like Arnold Schwarzenegger built, like ripped.
I love that so
Why
much.
does this
It's
sound
such
like
a
a
good
video
movie.
game?
Have you
Because
not
it's
seen Kung Fu
basically a
Hustle,
video game.
Dan?
Of course
Oh,
not.
it's such
I don't
a
even
good
know what that is.
movie.
Is it a movie?
It is
Oh, it's so good.
one of the funniest movies ever to come out of China. It is freaking brilliant with great martial arts sequences. All right, third question. John Nahr, a stand-up comic and performance artist, founded the Best Party in 2009 when Iceland was in total economic upheaval after bankers and international business interests bankrupted their country.
That's right. Yeah.
They promised such exciting things as to increase transparency by being openly corrupt rather than hiding it, free towels at all public pools, a polar bear in the National Zoo, and to not even try to fulfill any of their campaign promises. In short, they were founded as a joke. Despite this, in 2010, they won the majority of seats in the Reykjavik City Council, putting them in charge of Iceland's largest city and giving them a huge amount of influence over Iceland's national government.
Oh, God. And that's how we got Donald Trump.
This resulted in 1. They declared war on Vik, a small Icelandic fishing village with about 400 people in it. 2. They attempted to have the bankers rounded up and publicly executed.
What?
3. 4 years of wildly successful, massive political reconstruction, after which the best party declared success and disbanded. Or 4. They successfully managed to trick Russian bankers to miss a single owed payment to the city and immediately foreclosed on all their Icelandic interests, managing to erase nearly a third of Reykjavik's debt.
Man. I want to go for D, the tricking the Russians into
tricking the Russians.
Okay. Because I know what their solution was basically to say, fuck all y'all, we're not going to pay it. So maybe it was 4. I don't know.
Okay. So we got 2 for 4.
I think so.
The tricking Russian bankers. Trevor.
I'm going to say C.
4 years of wildly successful, massive political reconstruction.
Well, they did have that.
Yes.
Okay. The correct answer. No war on Vik. What's wrong with you people? All right. The correct answer is, in fact, C. 4 years of wildly successful, massive political reconstruction. What ended up happening was they got into office, and then all of these people who were really great minds and good at what they did, but who would never go into politics, were willing to work with them rather than politicians. So they had this influx of new blood into the government that was competent, right?
What?
But unfettered by any sort of political associations. And on top of it, John Nahr, this stand-up comic dude, provided so much media cover for them by doing this ridiculous, over-the-top event. Like, he appeared in drag on a interview for no apparent reason, dressing as a clown on several events. Like, everyone just focused on how ridiculous he was, that nobody paid attention to the actual work the party was doing.
Genius.
Until it was too late. And they actually succeeded in fixing a lot of shit.
Oh, that's genius.
When they disbanded, they actually had succeeded in most of what they kind of set out to do, but they gave birth to the Bright Party, which is now in Iceland, continuing the good work.
Wow.
So there is a book written by John Nahr that goes through all this that is a brilliant piece of material, very worth reading if any of you have any interest. So there you go. A failed joke becomes a serious political movement that ends up fixing a lot of problems.
That's like the inverse of what's happening here.
I know. I was just about that. How come we had a political joke that savaged the country?
Yeah.
What do you feel about what sort of plans have you set up that failed? I'd love to hear about them. Where might they tell us about that, Trevor?
Well, are we going to do the question of the week?
Oh, I forgot the question.
Yeah.
Of the
Good
week.
point.
It's where things are a little different in 2021. That we not only did we kind of run so long that we are shifting our main topic that we had planned, but also we have a new little a little amuse bouche, or no, what's like an after dinner mint?
Yeah,
of the episode.
a little aperitif.
Yes.
I like to think of it as a cheese course.
Something light and delicious that you can put in your mouth.
Yeah. We've been loving kind of the mail we got from the Chaser episodes. We thought maybe, we always love mail. I feel like, I don't know, if we were talking about how we ask questions as a joke, but it's like whenever I ask a question, I'm very earnest. But
what's the most memorable experience you've had on a date revolving around food, or the food that was ordered or wasn't delivered, or what happened? Tell us your best story. We want to have a mailbag every week. We don't get to do those every week, and so
we like them.
If you write us in, we'll talk about it. Let us know. And Trevor, where can they write us for these wonderful answers?
We're on social media. Or no, hold on. We're on Twitter and Instagram as @BigFatGayPod. We're on Facebook as the Big Fat Gay Podcast. Leave us 5 stars there. Leave us 5 stars on Apple and Stitcher. Maybe leave us a review. Why don't you? I don't know. Check out all of the lovely articles we talked about on our website, www.bigfatgaypod.com. Yeah, it's Happy New Year.
Hey.
Maybe you're rolling a nat 20. Maybe you're rolling a nat 1 crit fail. Maybe you roll your dice and there's a little face on it, and it's Michael.
Hi, Michael.
Hi.
And he says,
Look out.
2021.
Goodness gracious.
It's still 2020.